Did they make
No, no, it's pretty close, but this is going to be a drag race.
Look at this.
Moves out to win it. Carl Edwards bumping, dump and run.
Here comes Gordon right up to the bumper again. The bump and run.
There it is.
Maine really turn around, Maine around this cage up.
Welcome to the Bump and Run Podcast. I'm your host, Mike DIY, joined by my two best friends, Matt the Stat Man Reilly and Eric Daytona Ron. We are live and alive, and the Daytona 500 is in the books. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys had yourselves a Austin Cindric type of weekend. He's the first rookie to ever win the Daytona 500, and the first time it's ever been won in the number 2 car. We got a whole lot to talk about, but if you're enjoying the show, make sure you like, share, subscribe if you're on YouTube, subscribe if you're on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. We're available everywhere. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and at Bump the letter N Run Pod on Twitter. bumpandrunpod.com for all the updates. Fellas, how you guys doing? How's your weekend? Daytona Ron, I was with you all weekend, so I know how you're doing. But Matt, how is it here at home in Pennsylvania watching on the television?
I had a great weekend, boys. I had a really good weekend at home. Found out the sex of my child. We're gonna have a little racer. The Bump and Run family is gonna have a little racer. It's gonna be a boy. So
congratulations
about that. I'm excited to see that you guys made it home safely. I was worried. I never know. I know when you guys go down there. You know, I've been to several races with both of you guys. I know how crazy it gets. So you never know if we're going to lose any guys out there in the field, but you guys came back safe.
We survived, which is all you could do when you're partying for Daytona 500 weekend. I don't know how we survived. I don't know how I got home on Saturday, to be honest with you. I called my girlfriend on Saturday night, and she was very relieved when I texted her 7 a.m. Go, hey, I'm still alive. She goes, thank God, because I was worried about you.
That's all you need to hear. That's all you need to hear.
I don't even know how you got home Saturday night, Whitey.
None of us do. That's the thing. It was one of those nights. Matt, I don't know how much we told you about the weekend, but on Saturday we ended up partying with some insiders, some business insiders. We were at the same bar that some RFK people showed up at.
Okay.
So we were drinking with them, laughing, having a good time, singing karaoke and everything. And at a certain point, I felt like I've stayed too long. I need to get some food and go home. And we were staying about 2 miles down the road, so it was about an hour walk. And I got pizza, and that's the last thing I remember before waking up Sunday morning for the race. So it was one of those nights. Eric had a crazy one, too, a run-in with Denny's down there. We ran into the Denny's twice. Had some drama down there with workers walking out after, like, in the middle of their shifts. They're just leaving and stuff. It was a crazy weekend. A lot of beers were drank. I think Daytona Ron, the rest of our buddies, Jay and Schmansky. I didn't drink on Sunday during the race. I was having a little upset stomach. Those guys drank, how many was it? 5, 6, 12 packs of
5 or 6 12-packs of I think they were Michelob seltzers and Michelob Ultras, and we were just mixing whatever we could get our hands on. Sure. That was the quickest to get. We were getting it and refilling the Whitey's cooler backpack that he had. That, you know, we kind of used that all day long, which came in clutch. But yeah, we definitely tied one on Sunday, and beautiful weather. I will say that down to Daytona, there's always that chance of those afternoon rain showers coming in and really, really spoiling a weekend. And it could really, you know, kick everything to that Monday, and, you know, the flights and everything get, you know, kind of in jeopardy for that. But I will say this was probably the most beautiful Daytona weather that I've had down there in a really long time. So that was, you know, grateful for that.
Absolutely. I was even talking to, you know, my dad throughout the race. And at one point, I think I just said, like, holy shit, like, this is, you know, the last 2 Daytona 500s were impacted by rain. And it just seems like I don't have the stats in front of me, but I'd probably say out of the past 10 years, I'd probably say 5 or 6 of the Daytona 500s have been affected one way or another by weather. So, I mean, it's the nicest weather. You know, obviously I wasn't there. You guys were. You can speak to it firsthand. But it's the nicest weather I've seen for the 500 in a long, long time. So that was good to see.
Yeah, it was absolutely beautiful all weekend. Sunday, the vibes, the energy at the track, absolutely amazing. Met a lot of new people, handed out a lot of Bump and Run business cards. Never got to meet up with a friend of the show, Justin Pierce. I was disappointed in that. Saturday got a little too drunk and never made it back in time to see him. And then by the time I texted him at the track on Sunday, they were already in, and they were on the other side of the track than we were sitting. So I never made it down, but I did get to meet a new friend of the show. He's been commenting on the YouTube videos for a while now. Actually, the reason why we expanded our gambling segment, Charles, he goes by Charlie. So we got to meet him and his buddy. They were down there for a bachelor party. They went deep sea fishing and stuff like that. So while we were getting wasted, they were being productive and everything. But it was an absolute pleasure to meet those guys down there, meet some new people, try to get them on board of the podcast. So if you're new to the show, we met you down there. I know there was a couple we were talking to on Monday night. They were from all over the place. I forget, Eric. I think it was Arkansas where they were living now, but they had both moved there and stuff. But they saw my Bump and Run t-shirt. They got confused. They thought it was the Door Bumper Clear podcast. So the guy's wife, he's like, "Oh, we love that show." I'm like, "I don't think you heard it, but I would love you to listen to it." So if you're new on board, welcome. And I hope we have a great show for you. And man, what a great weekend in Daytona, man. It was really amazing.
And you know what too is like for all three races, like the racing, like it usually is at Daytona, was amazing. So it sounds like a great weekend altogether, and it's a perfect, piggybacking off the Clash and then going to Daytona and then just having back-to-back awesome racing. It just makes me super, super excited for this year. We've got the new gen car. Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you guys. I know we talked about it through text message, but how did they sound in real life? You give it to me.
Oh my God. They were absolutely it was the loudest car. Like my buddy Jay, who was sitting next to me, he kept saying like you could hear them like kind of go off throttle when they're kind of going through the turns and kind of coming back, and then all of them at once when they mashed down to get going again out of the exit. It was some of the loudest cars going by I've ever heard. They sounded beautiful, unique. It's different. It didn't sound like the
throaty, right?
Yeah, like super deep, but like a rumble to it. Like it's hard to describe. But when they were coming off pit road and they'd come across the line and just gas, and they go, brrr, like you could. It's a sound, man. Even listening to the MRN broadcast in between a commercial break, Mike Bagley, who's in turn 3, he said on the radio, goes, "Man, these cars are loud. I don't know how we're gonna deal with it when our posts are closer to the track." He's like, I probably won't be able to hear things in my headphones and stuff. So like it's an experience. I can't wait for you to hear him live at track, man. It's wild.
How did they look?
Oh,
beautiful.
Phenomenal. They actually had wait, who was it? Bowman's car. I think they had a next gen outside of the racetrack.
No, so okay, so Harvick had a regular last gen car with a next gen paint scheme on it. Bowman had what looked like a show car because it didn't have a fuel insert or anything to pump gas into it. So I don't think that was a full done up one, but the Toyota one we were looking at a next gen Toyota one, and it was beautiful up close. Those rims are gigantic. Like just the way it looked, it does. It looked like a Camry sitting there. Like they're just beautiful cars, man. They did a bang up job with this next gen car.
Good. Even our friend Kyle, who usually comes down with us, who's not a huge NASCAR fan by any means, he just enjoys our company, coming down there, a good time, and while he's it's a NASCAR race, so he has a great time coming down, but not really involved in the sport. And he's like, "Oh my God, like that does look like a Camaro. That does look like, that looks like a Toyota," So for someone that's not really in the sport to recognize like that looks like a production car, and I think that's what NASCAR was going for. So to, just an average person, it's, it was catching the eye of a lot of people. And I know I spoke to my father at work when I went back, and our other buddy who, they watch because I go down there, and they tuned in, and they even said, the car looked really, really good on TV. And they're not huge NASCAR fans either. They kind of watch it because I'm into it. So I think overall, from the people that aren't directly like, huge fans like we are, I think the next gen car got a thumbs up from a lot of people.
Hell yeah. Good to hear.
And it raced amazingly. I mean, I watched the broadcast today. I watched the DVR version of it. But Matt, what did you think of just the racing in general? What you saw on TV? Because
I mean, it looked. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
It's okay. I was just gonna say, I feel like it was the most competitive super speedway race I've seen in a long time.
And I would agree. I think the thing that jumped off the screen most to me was that if a car lost the draft or if it lost the pack, it just got sucked right back. Like you had no chance. Like, and I know that's kind of how it's been in years past, but it just seemed more dramatic this year with the new car for whatever reason. Whether that was the case or not, I don't know. But to the naked eye, to me, it just seemed like once you lost that draft, you were getting pulled right back. The racing itself seemed really, really intense, exciting, like it always is. It seemed like you can get big time runs. I mean, look at Brad Keselowski there. I mean, he was the run master, and it cost a couple guys too. But it looked like you can get runs with just the tandem drafting too, with just two cars. I think who was it? It was at the very end of the race. It was Briscoe pushing. It was Briscoe pushing Brad, right? Yeah, and it was just those two on the high lane. And they were making ground up on Blaney and Cindric.
Yeah.
So I mean the tandem draft was working. What did you guys see as far as a live shot of that?
Yeah, the tandem definitely worked really well. Eric observed something with the top and bottom lanes that I want you to mention later. But one big run that I saw, it was just three cars. When it was near the end of the race, Kyle Larson got a huge run as Kevin Harvick was checking up,
the accident.
and they all smashed into it. It's crazy how quick the runs just come kind of out of nowhere. One thing I noticed, the side draft really doesn't affect these cars as much as the old ones, and I think maybe it's because the new car is completely symmetrical on the sides, where the old car, like the driver's side, kind of bowed out more than the passenger side, and there was some different aerodynamic stuff there that I think the side draft really affected. I didn't notice much side drafting going on, or at least if they tried, it didn't really work to get a big run. But Eric, you were talking about how the top and bottom lanes going into 1 and 2 were different from 3 and 4. I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah. To piggyback on the side drafting thing, I think that goes back to what Matt noticed, where a car, if you got shuffled out, you normally will get, rolled on by by the train that goes by. But I think the side drafting has something to do with that. So if you're that single car that gets bumped out and you try to side draft that line, maybe you could kind of, slow the cars down next to you to maybe not, get completely, out of the draft, and you could maybe get in line or break a little bit. So maybe not being able to side draft caused people and single cars to not be able to slow that down or get in line again.
You make a good point there, because when I was watching the broadcast, I did notice that when you'd get in the middle, you wouldn't fall completely. You'd see like the middle of the bottom lane kind of break up, and then they'd be able to slide in. But for me, the side draft, I was talking mainly about the leaders side drafting each other and getting a run that way.
The cars seemed a little bit more forgiving too. I forget who it was who hit Blaney. I guess it would have been probably in the middle of the race, or maybe even towards the end of the race. I forget what stage it was, but somebody pretty much rear-ended Blaney, and a bunch of smoke came out, and he never lost control of the car either. So that might have been the composite body that's holding up better than the bodies of past.
I think so too.
Which
just look at Kyle Busch too. Like, he was involved in that first big one, and he kept on going with nose damage, finished in the top 10.
So was Bowman. Bowman was, involved in that first one too, and he kept going.
But back to those top and bottom lines, Eric, with turn 1, turn 3, I cut you off there.
It started to become very obvious, that the runs that, down that front stretch there, the top would go into 1 and 2. And the exit of 1 and 2, they carried momentum from the high side, and they kind of took the lead. And the bottom wasn't as good through 1 and 2. And on the backside, they would stay kind of equal, but that bottom would then hook up. And through 3 and 4, the bottom would come out with the lead, and the top kind of struggled on exit out of 4. So you had that going on almost that first and second stage, where the top was good in 1 and 2. In 3 and 4, the bottom was good, and you want to be good in 3 and 4 because you're coming out there. You want to put yourself in position, for that checkered flag coming through. But it was interesting to see, and it made it fun to watch because of the back and forth. It wasn't just stuck. You know what I mean? Like they were constantly going back and forth. And I noticed in turns 1 and 2 is where a lot of the passing was attempted, I should say. And kind of early in the race, I don't know really what lap it was at this time. William Byron, I saw him go in the middle and make it 3 wide going into turn 1. And he held his ground and actually gained positions through the turns 1 and 2 in the middle, 3 wide. And I just thought that was just impressive to see cars being able, to go 3 wide. And it was the first time with this new car at Daytona to see them go 3 wide. And they kind of stuck there. It was harder to see 3 and 4. It was on the other side from us. But the bottom was definitely better coming out of turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, I think this new car for super speedway racing, at least, definitely an improvement of the old car. We'll see how it goes at 2-miler coming up this weekend and some 1.5 and some short tracks. We'll see how it goes. But so far, my assessment of the new car, phenomenal. Like knocked out of the park. There's some small issues that I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit, but just overall impressions right off the bat, knocked it out of the park. And man, they sound good. Just wait until you hear them in real life, man. It's absolutely insane. Because we were in the 4th level. We were far away from the track. Sure. I can't wait till we go to. I know we're talking about going to Dover, so we're gonna be closer to the track there. I know at Pocono when we're in the grandstands, they're smaller grandstands, so we're definitely gonna be closer there. It's a sight to see. If you're listening to this and you have a track near you within a couple hours that you could drive to, definitely go and see these things live. It is amazing. The energy at the track was absolutely amazing, but I don't want to jump too far into the race because we got some news and stuff to talk about. We got a truck race. We got an Xfinity race to talk about. Tons of stuff from Speed Week. So, do you want to jump into the news now?
Let's do it.
I have 4 pieces of news. Chase Elliott, big news for Matt, who's a Chase fan, signed a 5-year extension with HMS. I believe that happened, Saturday or Sunday? I can't remember.
That happened. That news broke Sunday morning during the pre-race show.
Yeah, so big news for Chase. I know William Byron also in talks, and Mr. H wants to keep them both there forever, his words. So definitely look for that William Byron coming very soon. I guarantee it. Myatt Snyder, who was involved in a wild wreck during the Xfinity race, has been cleared to race at Auto Club. Of course, he was checked out in the infield care center. They checked him out again throughout the week to make sure there's no concussion symptoms or anything. So he is cleared for Auto Club. So good to hear that.
Did you guys, I know obviously you were busy and everything. You were just traveling the past couple of days. I don't know if you had time to see. Michael Jordan had his bus on the back stretch there, and he was out there, having a little get together during the Xfinity race with Bubba and I'm sure a few other guys
and stuff. I know Denny tweeted the picture.
Okay, so that's what I was gonna say. I didn't know if you got an opportunity to see that or not. Yeah. A piece of Myatt Snyder's car landed in Michael Jordan's frickin' bus. It's crazy.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. That's insane.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch the highlights of that Xfinity race. We watched it at the bar, but I don't really remember it, and I'll let Eric tell that part of the story once we get to it because it's a funny one. So next piece of news: NASCAR Grassroots racing coverage will be on USA Network this year, which includes ARCA East and West and the Whelen Modified Tour. Previously, those were available on the NBC Sports Track Pass package, so they're moving over to USA Network. So some more TV time for some grassroots racing. I'm looking forward to that. How about you guys?
You just broke news to me. That's really good. I didn't hear that piece of news before, so that's actually really cool. Yeah, it gives us an opportunity to learn about the up and comers.
Yeah, I can't wait because I feel like I hear a lot of great things about the Whelen Modified Tour, especially around when they go to Martinsville and all that stuff. And I just never really get a chance to watch it because I don't have those subscription services,
Yeah, it's good to see. It's good to hear that they're going to be on national TV. That's awesome.
Eric, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm pumped about it, to be honest with you. I think it's about time NASCAR stepped up and starts giving some of these smaller series that, kind of they use as their, starter and jump series to get up the ranks to get to NASCAR. They use all those other series, and it's about time that NASCAR gives them a little light and shows where some of these or your favorite driver may have come from. If you don't know what that is, hey, my driver was a dirt series or he was a modified, and you don't really know, it will help fans learn about where their favorite driver started their career racing.
And you made a great point too, because there's a lot of people that only watch that type of racing. And maybe that'll keep them following their guys throughout the ranks of everything. And for the casual fans, to find some new guys, maybe make it out to a short track race for the Wheel and Modified Tour and get those grandstands full, So I think that's a positive all around. And one piece of news that wasn't in the outline I sent to you guys, I got to pull up the tweet right now. And Matt, I think you were a little confused on this. So after the duels, Penske and RFK Racing had their wheels taken by NASCAR, and they're being inspected. I didn't really understand what they were being inspected for. Eric tried to explain it to me, and he did a good job, but I didn't know what he was really talking about. And then Corey LaJoie explained it. But today it's been determined there's no penalties for RFK or Penske modifying their wheels. NASCAR says it met with next-gen suppliers and teams to discuss the wheels, then made small adjustments to increase the upper tolerance of pin and pilot bores for Fontana. And Eric was explaining it where he's like, oh, you know how on the old wheels they would get oblong and stuff and it would make them vibrate and everything. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about, but essentially what this is, so since we moved to a single lug, we don't have the 5 lug nuts, but we still have the 5 lugs that the wheel goes onto. It's just not attached there, right? And apparently the wheels were coming from the supplier and they were super tight to get the wheel on, to get it flush and then crank down that center lug. So what Penske and RFK did, basically took like a Dremel tool or something and just slightly opened up those holes that go on the lugs, the 5 studs of the wheel. And they checked that, and that's what they were inspecting. And that's kind of why we saw some of those smaller teams not get the wheels on the hub during the 500 as tightly. So that it's kind of a safety concern there. So that's what they were inspecting, to make sure that the holes didn't give any sort of performance. I think they adjusted something with the manufacturer, and going forward, it should make it easier for those wheels to get onto the hubs. Because what was happening, I guess, if they're too tight or something, they would vibrate and then become oblong holes and everything like that. So
basically what I heard Brad say too was, without putting that like chamfer on those holes, basically they were almost, there was no give, there was no vibration, it was just failure.
Yeah.
So with the old style car, you would get that vibration with the loose wheel, and basically the wheel would have a little bit of room to start moving around. You would feel that come in, your tires loose.
Yeah.
With these cars, it was so tight in there. Once that center cap, the one lug, if that wasn't tight, the wheel,
there was no warning.
You wouldn't know.
There's no warning, and just boom, the wheel would either blow up or blow off of the car. The lug would stay on, but the wheel would kind of explode. So that little chamfer that they would put in there kind of gave the wheel a little bit of room and a little bit of tolerance to get back to pit road is from what I took from Brad Keselowski saying.
And we did see some failures that happened to Kaz Gralla, and it happened to Justin Haley. They were both penalized because of those failures. So they're going to have their crew chiefs ejected. I believe their jackman and their tire carrier for those respective tires for 4 races, which is a huge penalty. And we'll discuss that later on in the Pick Lane segment.
Hey, they don't have to make it out to the West Coast.
Yeah, well, somebody does, though. That's the thing. They gotta find some replacements quick.
Yeah.
But that's all I have for the news this week. We will talk about more of that tire stuff in the Pick Lane segment. So let's jump into the full race weekend. Friday night, we had a truck race, a wild one on Friday night. Zane Smith won Friday night at the Next Era Energy 250. in a wild race. I don't know if you guys saw all of it. I watched the whole thing, and they were too wide the whole entire time. They were loose, and somehow they didn't wreck until with 2 to go. Just barely getting under the white flag there and going into NASCAR overtime. Did you guys check out that truck race?
I got home with a few laps to go, and we were taking care of the dog when we got home and everything. So it wasn't I didn't get to see it.
It was a wild one. For last year at Daytona, the trucks wrecked, I feel like every minute. This year, it was the cleanest truck race I had seen in a long time at a super speedway, right up until the end. But it was a good one. And then Saturday, Xfinity race, Austin Hill, my boy on RCR, he nabbed his first victory with RCR for the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300. Matt, did you get a chance to watch it at home?
Yeah, I did a little bit. No, most of it, I guess I did. I don't know why this whole weekend was a blur for me. I don't really have many takeaways from that Xfinity Series race. Yeah, I mean, you know what it is too, and it's going to take, usually every year this happens, it usually takes probably 3 or 4 races for me to get used to who's in what cars, who's come up from the truck series. And then even the Cup series, I mean, it took me a while. Like, I kept forgetting every time I saw that Discount Tires number 2.
You think it's
I kept having to tell myself that's not Brad anymore. Like, so it's going to take me a little bit of time to adjust to everything. I have to adjust to the fact that, like, I actually have like a full-time guy to root for in Josh Berry in the Xfinity Series. It's been a few years since I've actually had, like, I've just been rooting for a blanket Junior Motorsports, but now I actually have a driver. So
yeah. Same for me with RCR, because they've just had part-time guys. No one's really running for a champion.
Right.
I couldn't get behind anybody, but now I got Sheldon Creed in the 2. I got Austin Hill in the 21, cheering those guys on. And I was cheering hard on Saturday, even though I told you I drank a whole lot Saturday. I didn't even realize the race was on at the time. Eric, you want to tell that story?
Yeah, so we were at this little bar off the main drag there in Daytona called Peanut and George's, and
excellent dive bar down in Daytona.
Great dive bar. So we're drinking pitchers, and we're standing there, and like, I was so bombed at the time. I looked up and I'm like, I thought it was Friday. So
I kept forgetting what day of the week it was too, because usually we go down on Friday, and this year we went down Saturday morning, and it threw me off completely. So
here I think it's Friday, and I look up on the TV. I'm like, oh, it's a rerun of last year's Xfinity race. So I'm like, oh, it's nothing. Like, this is last year's race. So I didn't even realize it was a live race that I was watching. So I saw the wreck, and I'm like, oh, like, it must have been, it's just a rerun or whatever. And then, like, I'm realizing, I'm like, wait a minute. No, like, it's Saturday. I think Jay might have said it was Saturday to me. I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
So Whitey's going around passing out our business cards to people, and
I was network hard. Yeah, I was singing Werewolves of London and passing out Bump and Run podcast business cards.
So when the race ends, I go, oh my God, Austin Hill wins. And I go, Whitey, I go, like, to cheers them with our mugs. I go, congratulations. And he looks at me with the blankest stare, like,
dead behind eyes.
He, like, just gone, like, had no idea why I'm looking for, like, a cheers, like, to congratulate him. And I go, your boy won. And then all of a sudden it clicked, and Whitey goes, yeah, RCR. RCR. He starts screaming and cheering, running around the bar going nuts. And like 2 seconds earlier, he didn't even know the race was on. He didn't know his driver won.
So the next morning, I already told you guys, had a rough night. Didn't really remember much after that bar. I wake up, I go to Eric. I'm like, oh, who won the Xfinity race? And he goes, your boy, Timmy Hill. I'm like, Timmy Hill, he won? Really? I'm like, I know he's a good driver, but he's always in back marker cars and stuff. Like, that's a shock. There must have been a crazy finish, And I'm like, really? Timmy Hill? He goes, yeah, you were freaking out. He won. And it clicked, and I go, you mean Austin Hill? And suddenly the memory flooded back to me of watching it on the TV in the back of, before like the bathrooms and screaming, RCR, RCR, yeah. So sometimes you just need a little memory jog, but yeah, it was an exciting Xfinity race from the small highlights I saw. But going forward, throughout the season, I won't be drinking heavy on a Saturday. I'll be able to follow these races and we'll have more to tell you about for the podcast. But yeah, it was a good time.
You know what else
Daytona,
it was?
baby.
It's Daytona, baby. Oh,
That's
yeah.
Right. That's right. You
and
know
like,
what else it is too is like I'm used to being able to like talk to you guys throughout the races,
yeah.
And that usually jars my memory by the time we record, and we also usually record on Mondays. Here we are in the middle of the week where it feels like that Xfinity race was 40 years ago.
It really does.
So,
like the truck race, I don't even remember, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So when we do it on Mondays earlier in the week, and I can also like chat with you guys during the race, I usually retain the race a little bit better.
Well, I tell you what though, just the vibes of Daytona were at all the bars and everything, they were a lot better than in previous years. Like where we were, there's this old Raceway bar that's been around since like the late 90s where they have race car tables inside and stuff. And usually that place is dead. It was packed on Saturday. Like we could see them out on the deck and everything. The vibes in Daytona in general were real good for the party scene this year.
Good.
And the vibes on Sunday at the track were absolutely amazing when rookie Austin Cindric held off his teammates Ryan Blaney, former teammate Brad Keselowski, and Bubba Wallace to win the Daytona 500 for the first time. The two-car was in victory lane for the Great American Race. Matt, what'd you think about Austin Cindric?
I was happy with it. I was okay with it. I was, candidly, I was rooting for Blaney to win that race only because I had a friendly wager on it, and I also picked him on this podcast last week. I'm still high on Blaney for this year. He proved me right. I mean, he was up front the entire time, but I'm okay with Cindric. We always bust on this podcast, we always bust about Penske racing, and you either love them or hate them in the NASCAR world, and we probably lean towards the hating them. We definitely lean towards the hating them.
Yeah.
But
really just one driver in particular at this point. But.
Yeah, at this point definitely, because the other two I'm completely fine with. So to kind of take you guys into the Reilly household is, Steph was there watching the race with me, but she was watching towards, she kind of got bored and everything. She's not a fan like we are. She just puts up with it because of me.
Yeah.
And she was watching on her, she pulled her laptop out and was watching something on Netflix. And I'm pacing back and forth. There's a couple laps to go. I'm amped up. I'm excited. It's the Daytona 500. And then it hit me. I'm like, wait a second, Steph. Your guy, Austin Cindric, is in the lead. You might want to pay attention here. So she did. She kind of closed over the laptop and she was watching, and she was all excited that her guy won, But I'm okay with it. I guess we could jump into the race grades if you want.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, me and Eric, as soon as the race was over and we turned to each other, we're like, the best car won today. Like he was in the top 5 all day long pushing. Like he definitely deserved that win. We had 7 cautions for 37 laps, 35 lead changes among 13 different drivers. Like an amazing race. Yeah. Your top 5, Austin Cindric, Bubba Wallace, Chase Briscoe, Ryan Blaney, and Eric Almirola. So a very heavy Ford top 5. Absolutely great race. Give us your race grade, Matt.
So kind of just to piggyback off of what you just said about Austin Cindric, the best car winning, he certainly was. I think his average position throughout the race was 6th, which in a speedway race, like a super speedway race, is unbelievable, because you typically at some point you usually get sucked to the back
and forth. You're up and down all day.
He was up there the whole time, so you got to give it to him. As far as the race goes, A+ for me. We started off the year with the Clash, A+. I'm giving this race an A+.
Yeah.
I think we only handed out, maybe I'd have to go back and look, maybe 4 or 5 A+ all of last year, even though it was a good year last year. We try to be, at least I do. I try to be kind of, conservative with my A+ grades.
Oh, of course.
But it deserved it. It was amazing. I think not having any bad weather helped. like you guys said, the pomp and circumstance surrounding the Daytona 500, the extra positive vibes that we had going into the Daytona 500, it was a perfect storm for almost a perfect race. And the racing with the new car was fantastic. We had talked about that earlier already, about how the tandem drafting was working and how you had comers and goers all race long. There was no real serious controversy that happened throughout the race to kind of hinder the results or anything like that. So A plus. I loved everything I saw this past weekend, and I hope they can continue keeping it rolling throughout the whole season.
Oh yeah, right on there with you, bud. How about Eric? What do you think?
Yeah, I gave it an A. I didn't give it an A plus. Like you, Matt, I want to stay kind of. I mean, I could have easily given the entire weekend an A plus, hands down. There's no doubting that. The race in general, I would have given it an A plus if it weren't for those minor incidents like entire wheels coming off and certain things like that. The little mechanical, not a big issue, but sure. It did cause headlines and storylines, and it was like kind of just a little bit of like I don't know, not a sore eye. Like it didn't obviously like overshadow the greatness of what the day was. Yeah. But you have to give that race an A. Back and forth all day. The lead changes, like I said earlier, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. The cars were just super racy all day, and I liked that they were sketchy. I liked that they didn't really have a handle on the cars going around because, that made it even more exciting seeing, like, I remember, like, I called that Harrison Burton accident in the stands a lap before.
Yeah, you did.
I turned to you, Whitey, or turned to Jay, and I go, dude, I think after that last, I go, Harrison Burton, he's got a pile in his pants right now, 100%. He's good. He's not going to be able to handle this much longer. Like he's out of his league at this point in time, leading the race. And lo and behold, comes out of turn 3 or turn 2, and he just got so squirrely, and boom, there it goes. It happened. But I like that they were racy. I like that they were bumping and banging in the first race because we had some thoughts of the parts and could they get them? Are they going to race? Are they going to be conservative with backups and all of that? And, man, it just shows when a racer puts his helmet on and they get out there, it's the Daytona 500, they're going to go out there and do whatever they can to win. My driver, Eric Jones, he ran up front, top 10.
Great day.
The majority of the race. And, I was appreciating that because normally, when he was at Gibbs, he kind of tended to go along with the team and what the team was doing. And, now this year, it's just him and Ty Dillon. And I think they just said, go for it. Like, there is no waiting around. Like, this is our opportunity. You seize it. He has a super speedway win under his belt at Daytona. Not the 500, but, he was really racy all day, which obviously when your driver's running well, it keeps you in tune and excited to watch there. And, just overall, it went phenomenal. I couldn't really pick anything for later on for the checkers and wreckers. It was tough to pick a wrecker. So, yeah, I'll give it a solid A.
Yeah, it was. I had a hard time picking wreckers for this weekend. I give it an A too. And to your point with Eric Jones and working with whoever, I think it was Mike Joy on the broadcast. I watched it again today. He even said it. He goes, Eric Jones, 2-car team. He's working with anybody he can, and he really was. And it was fun to watch for you in the stands, especially after my guy wrecked out. But after I got a little ribbing on that one too, I got some payback on you later on. Because your guy Eric Jones was in an unfortunate incident later on. But yeah, I gave it an A. Couldn't give it an A plus. I thought about giving it an A plus, but at the same time, it's Daytona 500. It should be an A plus event to begin with. So an A is an A plus for me. Just the whole vibe of the 500 was amazing. Being at the track, there was an amazing feeling in the air. Outside the track, I saw great sponsor engagement. I don't know if you noticed it like I did, Eric, but there was way more sponsor tents and tables than I had seen in previous years. And it's just great to see. I feel like there was more Chevy stuff going on, more Toyota stuff going on where they had their full lineup of cars to check out. We sat in a Supra and everything. Yeah,
Toyota's setup was absolutely enormous on the outside of the racetrack. They had like wheels you could spin to win like keychains, hats, like certain things like. And then to your point with the Chevy, they were very, very prominent this year there. And I don't know if I noticed it or we just got to the race a little bit too late in years previous. We kind of went down there a little earlier this year. Yeah. And I think that's why we might have noticed some things. But the drivers, they had a whole schedule of like drivers to come out, and they were talking in the Chevy booth there, and they had time slots, which was cool. And it got a huge crowd. Everyone went over. They saw Ross Chastain came out. Whitey's boy Tyler Reddick came out. I think Chase
was there. I didn't get to hear anything Chase said. There were so many people. It pushed me so far back that I couldn't hear anymore. It was
that's not
loud.
A surprise, yeah.
But yeah, just tons and tons of sponsor engagement. Like Reddick sponsor 3Chi was down there selling product or giving away products and stuff like that. Just a lot more sponsors than I've seen, and it could have been that we've always gotten there kind of late. But I feel like they were there right until we got in through the door. So I just feel like the presence was there extra heavy this year. And I don't know if it was because of the Clash or because COVID's kind of winding down and people are just looking to get back to the track. But like the hauler lines for merchandise was absolutely insane. I waited about 45 minutes for a t-shirt. I know you guys were wondering where I was. You guys all bailed out of the lines because you're like fed up. I needed to get just one track exclusive t-shirt. You can't get online, so I waited in line for that one. But just the vibe, the energy, the amount of people, it was just an A event all around. And then when I watched it on TV, I know some people are complaining about Fox, and we'll get into that, but I thought the coverage was good. The racing looked great on TV. And I enjoyed watching it all over again on this Wednesday. So that's just a testament to how good the race was. So definitely an A race for me.
Absolutely.
And with that, let's jump into the checkers and wreckers. Kind of alluded that we're having some trouble. Matt, are you getting a phone call right now?
No. So a little behind the scenes is I couldn't print out. I couldn't really. I was busy, very busy at work today.
Yeah.
So I usually am able to type out all my notes and everything. So I have a split between the notes that you sent us and the notes on my phone that I made during the race.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of. If you see me, I'm not getting a call.
I heard something in the ears. So if you're listening at home, that's what that was. So okay. I just didn't want someone listening to be like, "Oh, what's that sound? Am I getting a call?" So
sorry if there's any weird noises coming through.
All right, well, you get the records for the podcast, but it's your checkers and records for the weekend.
my checkers was that Tyler Reddick wrecked out of the race.
Yeah.
No.
Explain why? Because we made a friendly bet. I said $25. My guy would beat your guy in position, and that did not happen.
Yeah, so I will take that. I will take that in cold hard cash.
I was gonna say I'm not paying you right away because you texted you want it in green legal tender. So I'll give you cash next time I see you in person. I will own up to that bet.
So to get back on track, no, my checkers is, and it's kind of ironic that this is my checkers because I'm the only one out of the three of us that wasn't part of the crowd, right? You guys were there, so you can attest to it way more than I can, but just from what it looked like on the TV, my checkers goes to the crowd, goes to you guys, and it goes to everybody that made it to the race. That crowd was outstanding. It was phenomenal. Before the race, they had Luke Combs down there doing a concert. They had everyone down on the infield there, part of that concert. It looked great. And then, as the race started, as the green flag flew, they panned across the crowd and it was filled. They said it was sold out, and it was absolutely sold out. And, as you alluded to just a few minutes ago, Whitey, we're kind of hopefully winding down with this pandemic. Hopefully, we're going to be seeing a lot more people get to the track this year as opposed to the last 2 years. And it's just positive vibes. It was good. It was really, really good to see. So, and again, if you guys want to talk about it more, you guys were the ones that were there.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. They sold out. And usually when you hear like, oh, it's a sellout, there's still a lot of tickets available on the secondary market that just never get bought. It's just one of those deals. And going into the race on Friday, I checked to see how many tickets were left on StubHub, and it was only like 1,300. I'm sure by Sunday It was way less than that. And being in the stands, usually you look around and you'll see some empty seats. I didn't see a single empty seat in our section. I looked down, I didn't see any empty seats. It was absolutely amazing.
Good.
The infield was packed like I had never seen before. Just the way the infield was set up, the organization, it looked beautiful. It was a sight to see. It really was. You understand why the Daytona 500 is so special. How about you, Eric? What'd you think? Same page?
Yeah. Shoulder to shoulder, same page with that. It was probably the most sold out race I've ever been to. Like, if, like you said, there's a secondary market, whatever, but when they say a sellout, it legitimately felt like a sellout because there was not a single seat that I saw. And even if you're looking at the grandstands, we're completely packed. But even if you go to down underneath the stadium in the paddock area where the food and everything is, I feel like that was packed at all times as well too. So there was just people everywhere. So NASCAR, they're promoting this next gen car and this new season and trying to get new race fans. They better keep it up because they're doing a great job at getting people to the racetrack.
All right, Matt, it's tough, but what was your records?
It was tough. Typically, we try to, give our records to something that happened, within the race itself. And I had a hard time doing that. I mean, we could have went with the low picking fruit with the wheels coming off or Brad Keselowski pushing. I didn't go with that. I actually went with, and you guys, wouldn't know because you were at the race. You don't have to worry about it. But I like to scroll through Twitter as the race goes because I'm getting my news from all the boots on the ground that are there as it happens, especially during commercials. And NASCAR Twitter, a lot of the, I don't know if you want to call them influencers or whatever they are, were complaining a lot about, whatever you want to call them. They were complaining, a lot of them were complaining about the amount of commercials. Which first of all, it just seems like a colossal waste of one's time to complain about commercials because there's deals in place. There's a lot of money involved in these deals. You can't do anything about it. They're not going to hear your complaints and say, hey Ralph, let's dial down on the commercials next week. No. It's not going to happen. So don't complain about it. We had, and I think I was so annoyed because it was such a special day, even from being, so far away up here in Pennsylvania while it was going on down in Florida. You can feel how special the day was for the Daytona 500. Why complain about something so freaking small? Yeah. And then I was really wondering, because I personally didn't feel like there were more commercials than years past or other races. So I did a little digging. Yeah. And I got some stats. You call me Stat Man Reilly. I did some digging here. So I looked. So here for the 2022 Daytona 500, there were 135 commercials. Okay. Yeah. For the 2021 Daytona 500, there were 131 commercials. So a 4 commercial difference. We're looking at maybe a difference of maybe 2 more minutes of commercials this year than years past. Big whoop. In 2020, there were 138 commercials, so even more than this year. In the 2019 Daytona 500, there was 137 commercials, 2 more than this year. Yeah. And then I thought, well, maybe it's a Daytona 500 thing. I'm going to start plucking random races out to see. And so I picked 2 random races out. The 2021 Martinsville playoff race, 127 commercials. So we're still right there. We're not
just a 10 commercial difference. That's what, 2 commercial breaks.
Sure, maybe a 3 or 4 minute difference in total commercials. Yeah. And then I picked the 2021 last year's Sonoma race, 130 commercials. So we're right in that wheelhouse no matter what. So I don't know why people were complaining. It was front loaded like most races usually are. They try to front load the commercials into the first 2 stages. So when it gets towards the end and we're wrapping it down,
you're not missing the action.
You're not missing the drama and the action, and that's exactly what happened. The last 50 laps of the Daytona 500, there were very few commercial breaks, and we got to see everything we wanted to see. So stop complaining about commercials, guys. It's not worth it. Enjoy it. The commercials are the reason why we get to watch the races for free to begin with. Yeah. So just enjoy it. So, and that's it. That's all I had to say.
I'm glad you said that. And I have a bit of expertise to talk out of it because I worked in terrestrial commercial radio for a decade before doing this podcast. And I watched the Fox broadcast and I noticed, there's a lot of commercials. but to your point, it's Daytona 500. It's the biggest race of the year. That's the most expensive time slot for commercials. So if you're seeing a lot of commercials, that's a good thing. That is health in the sport. That is money coming into the sport. And no matter how you look at it, yeah, it might suck for the person sitting at home watching. You got to sit through commercials, but did you really miss a lot of the action? I mean, most of the commercials happened during yellow flags. If it was during green flag runs, they went side by side. I know people complained with the Fox broadcast that they missed some of the action. I know they missed the Tyler Reddick wreck as it was happening because they were going to a Busch Light thing with the female drivers and the sponsorships they're doing too. But they moved right back to it as quickly as possible to call the action. So I think when people complain about too many commercials, and you used to hear it on terrestrial radio all the time where they'd be like, oh, you got 3 minutes of songs and 10 minutes of commercials. Well, guess what? That means that is a high rated station. If you're listening to a radio station or a television station that doesn't have a lot of commercials, that means not a lot of people are paying attention to that station. It's not bringing in a whole lot of money. And it's not good for the sport. Fox, you're getting a free broadcast over the air. All you need is an antenna. It's literally free. Those commercials are paying the bills. Those commercials kept the tracks going during the pandemic when they shut down or they couldn't have fans because they get a cut of that TV money. The TV money comes from ad revenue. It goes hand in hand. You want NASCAR to survive, you have to deal with commercials. And I think a problem with it, a lot of the younger fans and a lot of those people on Twitter that are complaining are F1 fans. And F1 broadcasts go completely uninterrupted. They have their ads at the beginning and the end. And guess what? That's on cable. That's being paid for by Disney and ESPN. And if you want free races on network television, you're going to have to deal with it. Plain and simple. It's a dumb complaint to have because the more commercials we have, the better the sport is doing. Plain
Look at
and
the
simple.
silver lining too. Take those 2 minutes or whatever it might be, 90 seconds during a commercial break. Get up, go get a refill of your beer, go use the bathroom, go get a snack, go let the dog out.
Exactly.
Check your Twitter to see the news that you missed during the last segment of the race or something. You know, it's complete BS. And I just think, I don't know, Twitter could be a useful thing, right? A good resource for news and information, and it can also be toxic. And if you guys are new listeners to this podcast, look us up on Twitter. It's the bump and run. What is it? At
bump the letter N Run pod.
Thank you, Whitey. Look us up. We're not going to be that toxic space on Twitter. We're going to be the fun, positive vibe on Twitter.
Yeah. And
my thing is, to your point about the fans complaining, I actually look at it from a different side. I'm glad they're complaining about the commercials because the racing was great. They can't complain about the racing. There's always going to be something to bitch about.
Always.
So I'd rather bitch about commercials or the broadcast because, that means they couldn't bitch about the racing. The racing was so good. Those trolls, those people that just have to get that anger out on Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh, what are we going to do? They couldn't shit on the race because it was great racing. So they went to something else. It's the first thing they go to is the crowd. Guess what?
Crowd was packed.
It was packed.
Dude,
so
you want to what?
They go to the broadcast. Oh, the broadcast. Whitey, the Fox broadcast said it was great. So what do? They go to the next best thing and they find one thing. There could be a million great things. They'll go down that list. Find the one thing that they could bitch about and bitch about it. So as long as they're bitching about commercials, means the racing is good in my eye.
Eric,
you just nailed it, buddy.
You made such a good point, especially because if the race is good, they complain about the crowd. If the crowd's full, they complain about and that's all it is. Just enjoy it. Enjoy it. You're enjoying a free race on Fox. Right. And apparently, Matt, you had something to talk about with the network deal and stuff like that.
Oh, so I just thought it was really interesting. So NASCAR president Steve Phelps had an interview with I believe it was Sports Business Journal that he went on one of their podcasts.
Yeah.
And obviously their current deals with Fox and NBC are expiring soon. What is it? 2 more years?
I think they end in 2024. Yeah.
Okay, so a few more years, and then the big question is, well, what's going to happen, right? So the question got asked with Steve Phelps, a lot of people, including myself, have been talking about for years, why doesn't NASCAR just do their own streaming service? Everyone has it nowadays. Why doesn't NASCAR have or a NASCAR channel even, where you can broadcast the races, you can have your studio shows, you can broadcast old history races, things like that. And Steve Phelps actually brought up something that I never even thought about from a business angle, but it makes perfect sense. He said we've got to have a businessship and a partnership lined up where our races are being viewed by the most possible eyes. That means we have to be on network television, the Foxes of the world, the NBCs of the world. And the reason behind that is because the sponsors who go onto these cars, who buy into it, put their own money into it, invest into the sport, they want as much exposure as possible. Yeah. Right. So and new eyes on the sport is nothing but a good thing, for the sport and for these sponsors. The current job that I'm in, I wouldn't have even known about this company if it wasn't for NASCAR. So NASCAR, literally, I have NASCAR to thank for my paychecks every week. Yeah. Because of the company that I work for. So
Fastenal, baby, your solution for all your supply chain needs.
That's right. So I would have never heard about Fastenal if it wasn't for NASCAR. So it's all about branding, and it's all about as many eyes as possible, about as much visibility as possible. So if there is a NASCAR network or a NASCAR app,
streaming service,
streaming service. The only eyes that are probably going to be on it are current NASCAR fans. It's not Joe Schmo down the street isn't going to look into buying $4.99 a month for the NASCAR app just to watch a race because he's just kind of interested. But if he's flipping through the channel on a Sunday afternoon and NASCAR's on Fox and he catches it and he says, "Oh, I'll check this out for a little bit," he might get invested. So exactly. it's all about visibility. And I thought it was a really, really intriguing interview that Steve Phelps was on. You can find it on Twitter, I believe. Adam Stern tweeted out the link from YouTube for that podcast that it was on. It was really good insight, cool insight into the business side of NASCAR.
And it makes sense why a new TV deal hasn't been announced yet, even getting this close, because they want as many races on network TV as possible. And that's going to be a hard thing to battle for, but I think they could get it done.
He might have shown his hand a little bit, and maybe not. Maybe it was just me looking into it too much, but he did bring up the fact that they would love to be back on ESPN. They have guys like Ryan McGee and Marty Smith who were born and raised, covering the sport. They cut their teeth, covering the sport back in the 90s. So they have people at ESPN that really know what the sport's all about. And he made a good point that, hockey, the NHL, just started their partnership with ESPN this year. And there's so much more exposure with the NHL this year than there has been in years past. So he did say that it would be a really good thing if they can get back in bed with ESPN, because there's a lot of sports fans that get drawn to ESPN. So just something to watch out for.
Yeah, the thing I fear with ESPN is they have a lot of basketball in the spring.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of hockey now. And the problem is, the reason why they can't be on NBC in the spring is because of the Olympics every 4 years,
Right.
And that's why Fox works out. So I wonder how they would go back and forth, or maybe it would just be on one network. I'm sure that's why it's taking so long.
He said they're looking for a lot of moving parts too, like an 8 to 10 year deal. They don't want something. They want consistency. They want stability. So yeah, it's going to be interesting coming up. We won't know today, tomorrow, or next week, but it'll be a few months, it'll probably be a year or two before we really know how that shakes out, but it'll be something interesting to watch.
All right, let's jump back on track. Eric, what's your checkers and wreckers for the weekend?
Just like, Matt said, it was tough, to pick a wrecker. My checker, it just, giving it to Austin Cindric. I had to give it to Austin Cindric just because I noticed him early in the race being, super aggressive, being, up front almost all, race long. I think Matt said his average, position throughout a speedway race was 6th. So that's impressive in its own. To be up front all day like he was. I know he's a rookie, and he's had a few cup races, but he's still a rookie. And
Yeah.
for a rookie to go out there and perform and, on the NASCAR's biggest stage, and to come out with a victory like that, it's more, than he could have ever wished for. And, it just goes to show, his talent. He deserves to sit in that number 2 car, which, previously Brad Keselowski, champion, everyone, great, one of the greats of the sport there.
Yeah.
And
big shoes to fill.
Tremendously. And that's a tough thing as a rookie to come into, to fill a major driver like Brad Keselowski and to come out there, especially at a super speedway where Brad is one of the best as well. And Brad never got it done there. So that 2 car to him to take it to victory lane as a rookie, and just to dominate. It wasn't like, a rookie won because 35 cars wrecked out and he just came in first kind of deal.
Yeah.
That's still a win as a win, but he just drove that car to victory lane. He really did all day long, drove that car right to victory lane. So I had to give my checkers to Austin Cindric for sure there. My wreckers, it was, you kind of started talking about a little while. I was going to say that I was going to try to catch you off guard.
Yeah.
I reckon myself, because everyone here, if you're a new listener, I enjoy, busting balls and having a fun time and picking on people about their drivers. So here, Reddick, there's a good joke going on. I was busting Whitey. Oh, Recky Reddick, he's in the grass. Oh, Reddick in the grass.
He spun out leaving pit lane at Nashville. He hit a patch of grass and spun out on pit exit. And
no contact or anything.
No contact. And Eric was really, really busting me hard when we went to Pocono. Like 3 weeks later, there's a great video of him riding the bikes on the track, and then he cut through the grass on pit lane, and he's going, "Oh, Recky Reddick in the grass again." So I was so mad. So Eric and our buddy Jay, they were in the bathroom, like they went down to the bathroom, and that's when Reddick spun out, and he didn't see it. But as soon as he comes walking up the stairs, I see his smile because he heard it. And I go, man, he's gonna give it to me. He's gonna give it to me. And there's Reddick sitting in the grass, and his tires are spinning, and the truck driver's behind him trying to give him a push. And he's like, "Oh, Reddick in the grass! Reddick in the grass!" So
I go, what happened? What happened? I said, "Did Reddick go in the grass again?" So I pull out my phone because, like I did in that video from Pocono, I see Reddick's car is on the tow truck getting towed in, and I'm Snapchatting, the truck, and I'm going, "Recky Reddick in the grass," and I'm going over to Whitey, and I'm busting him. I said, going over to Jay. So I was making a big deal of it again, really giving it to Whitey for his driver, going through the grass again. But the reason I'm wrecking myself for doing that is because, lo and behold, I got a little taste of my own medicine, because Whitey later on in the race, he pulled his phone out. On the wrecker in the grass getting towed in was Eric Jones, and he's going, Eric Jones on the wrecker. So I maybe I got to tone it down a little bit, Whitey. Maybe I'm getting to the level of, like, there's a little bit of karma coming back on me here. So maybe I'll tone it down a little bit, but I have to wreck myself because Eric Jones had a great day.
A phenomenal
up until
day.
I said, Recky Reddick. And I'm thinking back now, if I never made that little video and busted your balls, maybe Eric would have came out with a top 10 or top 5 finish. So maybe I'll dial it back a little bit this year, Whitey. Can't promise.
He definitely deserved it. He was running up front when he got taken out, though, and he avoided most of the wreck. He just got tail end and just caught the front of his car.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. What are you gonna do? But I thought it was hysterical. So I could take the busting. At least your guy got taken out. My guy took himself out. So it is what it is. My checkers and wreckers for the weekend, and it's hard not to give it to Austin Cindric like you did, but I'm gonna give it to Ford as a whole. We saw a lot of Ford struggle last season. Blaney did well, and Logano made the playoffs pretty deep and everything, but we didn't see the Fords rattling off wins like we saw the year before with Kevin Harvick and 9 wins the season before. And they really they dominated speed weeks, man. They all worked together all day long, especially Team Penske, especially RFK. much more than Chevy and Toyota did. And although Toyota mostly got taken out at a certain point, I think they only had 2 cars left on track. But yeah, just great teamwork from Ford. And over the years, the Ford team as a whole, they've been ordering that work together throughout these super speedway races for pit stops and strategies and all sorts of that. And I think they execute it really well. And my records, it was hard to nitpick anything from the weekend. Everything was amazing. But if I had to choose one thing, it'd be a Ford driver. It'd be Brad Keselowski, and just being a little too aggressive, pushing out of the turns. I mean, I know you got to push. I know you got to bump draft and all that stuff, but I think he just held on to the pushes a little too long. And when they would be coming out of the turn and coming downhill into the straightaways, I mean, that's where the trouble happened. It happened to Harris Burton. It happened to Ricky Stenhouse. And I think he kind of caused another wreck. I can't remember for sure, but just a lot of Brad Keselowski in the bumper, guys. And with these new cars, they're so rounded off. You really can't push quite the same, where if you get over to the right just a little bit, that car's it's gonna snap tight and just cut a wheel. And we saw a lot of that. And I even said it at the racetrack. I'm like, man, Brad's being aggressive. And Eric, you're like, nah, he needs to be aggressive. They just need to know how to take the pushes. And I kind of just disagree on that one. I mean, I could see kind of, but I don't know. Too many wrecks with Brad behind them.
I don't know. Look who's in front of him, though. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you could blame the guy pushing, but you also have to know how to take that hit. You saw a lot of cars getting squirrely all day long, getting bumped and getting hit. And that was going on all day long. Everybody was being aggressive up front. I mean, how come Austin Cindric didn't wreck Blaney the entire time? And he was pushing everybody in front of him and bumping. And you saw Blaney's car. Blaney's car even got a little squirrely here and there. And, he still kept under control. So you have Harrison Burton, a rookie, with a load in his pants after that one lap. He gets spun and flips. And you have Ricky Stenhouse, who that's the one person who was complaining about it, the most aggressive driver
I know.
ever. You're going to complain that somebody was pushing you too hard and aggressive? Dude, fuck you, dude. Are you kidding me? Everybody all day was beating and banging on each other. So, to say that he caused those wrecks, I check those up as super speedway racing. And hey, you're either good at it or you're not. Yeah. And I just feel like, yes, was he aggressive? Sure he was. He was fucking good all week long during speed weeks. Ford just in general was great. And I think Ford, you look at who was up there, Blaney, Cindric, those guys, Harrison Burton. Yeah, they're teammates. And I don't know. I just think, yes, he was aggressive. You kind of have to be. But what I'm wondering now, and I think it might have had something to do with it, I think I touched on it in our preview. I wonder if that foam behind the bumpers had anything to do with them not feeling that push, not knowing how hard they were actually into that car in front of them with that foam being there. And Jamie McMurray brought that up in the preview. And I remember hearing him saying that, hey, maybe a driver's not going to feel it with the composite bodies. It's not going to, be as noticeable when someone is connected to you or bumping into you. So there was definitely a lot of that throughout the field, which makes me, kind of say, hey, could he have been a little bit more aggressive than the others to have that happen? For sure. But you have to. You just have to. You know what I mean? And I just was, if it was, I don't know, you could say maybe did he take advantage of some guys that maybe aren't as good, but hey, there's one simple thing you got to do. Get out of line. If you don't, if you're not comfortable, get out of line. You know what I mean? And I think Harrison wanted to, but he just couldn't because the energy of the line he was in, he just had no room. And you are right. There are certain places I didn't get to watch the broadcast or any replays of where he was bumping in turns. From the grandstands, it just looked like everybody else bump drafting each other. So I don't know. I just chalk it up as that's just something that goes down. And Brad's known for being aggressive there, as is Ricky Stenhouse. So Harrison, I could see maybe complaining, but for Ricky to complain, dude, shut the hell up.
That was the pot calling the kettle black. I thought the same thing. And hey, listen, we like Ricky, so don't
At that point, I was hoping Ricky would win the race. I really thought he had a good shot at doing it. And I wanted to see some people get angry on Twitter over that one. But,
right, but on the other hand, though, like Eric's right though. Like Ricky's not a rookie. He's not he's a veteran at this point. He's been in the Cup Series for a long time. He's really good and talented at super speedways. He knows what he's doing out there.
Yeah.
To Eric's point, if you're getting loose or if you're getting pushed too hard and you don't think your car can handle it or you as a driver can't handle it, get out of line. I understand when he got wrecked, it was coming down to like a few to go. So you can't really just get out of line.
Well, it's not even that. It's the section that he was pushing at. I felt like Brad should have been smarter than pushing guys coming out of 4. Like that's where the wrecks are going to happen. Like you have to back up a little bit. The same with Harrison Burton. Like you have a rookie in front of you in his first Daytona 500. Are you really going to push him that hard? No, you shuffle him out of line.
Not that I want to.
Like he's
Brad Keselowski.
Like get out of line by bump, bump, bump. Hey, move! Come on, bump.
I'm faster than you. Get out of my way.
You get out of my way.
But with the rounded bumpers and stuff, you're over to the side a little bit. It's not like the old cars where you can lock up a little bit easier and kind of give those guys a nudge. Like you have to know, like, hey, like maybe I got to pump the brakes a little bit, or else I'm gonna wreck the field behind me, like I did 3 times.
It's the Daytona 500, bud. You're not putting the brakes on for anybody. I don't care if you're a rookie in front of you. It's the Daytona 500, and you're not going to back up to somebody. You know who else I got mad at? Because they were slowing the entire line down was Bubba Wallace.
Yeah.
When Bubba Wallace was in front, his car sucked in front of the pack.
But that's Kyle Busch being aware, like, hey, I can't push him as hard as I want to. Like, he had to back out of it, and he even apologized to Bubba. He's like, listen, I can't give you what you need. The
whole thing with Brad too is you've got to realize like he's how old is he at this point? And he hasn't won the Daytona 500. He's been in the Cup Series for how long? And he has not won the Daytona 500. He's a champion. He's won everywhere else. He's got all these trophies, but he doesn't have the one thing that he probably wants the most, and that is a Daytona 500. So yeah, he's going to be aggressive. He clearly had a fast car. He had a probably top 5 speed as far as that goes. Get out of the way if you can't handle it.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think if you're in first, if you're leading a line and you can't get pushed, and I don't think it's the second or third place's job to be like, okay, I'm gonna let him ride around and let that the inside lane just take off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's
you gotta go.
If someone in front of me is slow, I'm gonna bump them, let them know that I'm faster than you, and get out of my way. Like I don't think Bubba was slowing that whole line of Toyotas down, tremendously slowing them down. And I'm like, Bubba, you're ruining this whole entire line. Like, yeah, you want to win. You think you're going to win, but your car is not good being pushed. You're not good being pushed.
Yeah.
Bubba needed to be second or third.
He needed to be doing pushing and then hang someone out to dry.
And it almost and to your point, it almost worked. Bubba being in third at the end of the race. He almost won the race being in third.
Exactly. If he was in first, nobody in his line would have won because his car wasn't good up front.
Yeah.
It just and you're slowing down. And I think if you're that lead car and you get wrecked out front because you're slowing that line down and the inside's gaining momentum now, dude, that's on you, brother.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
In order for Bubba to win that race, it wasn't going to be from first. It was going to be exactly what almost happened, where first and second get into it, and then he's able to just capitalize on the spot in third. That's how he was going to win that race. He did not have the best car.
It almost happened for him too, which is
it
was
insane.
insane.
Half a car length short. Yeah.
It was man, what a finish that was though, going into overtime. It was an exciting one. So maybe I'm glad Ricky Stenhouse Jr. wrecked out because we saw I think we saw a great finish,
Sure.
I don't know. I feel like if Brad kind of backed off just a little bit, timed it a little better, we could be talking about the 6th car in victory lane, Instead, he got himself, a 9th place finish, So, I don't know. Just something to ponder, something to watch the replays of and see if you see it different than I do.
I will be interested now, though, coming off of the super speedway where things are pretty equaled out on a super speedway. Now we're going to get to the meat and potatoes, Are these cars really going to be as equal as everyone's saying they are? Is Brad Keselowski and the Ford's going to still be fast going to a 2-mile track? I can't wait to see what kind of questions get answered this weekend.
I think this weekend at Fontana is going to be a wildly different race with completely different people up front, and I can't wait to see what happens. We'll have to check out practice and qualifying on Saturday, see how that goes, and see who's strong up front, because after every race, you learn a little bit. Who knows? I know they had to get on the road on Tuesday to get those cars, but I'm sure there was some guys making adjustments throughout the race, figuring things out in the computers and engineering. So we'll see what happens with Fontana, see what happens in the West Coast swing. And I'm sure by the time we get back to the East Coast, things are going to change again once we get to Atlanta and all that stuff. So it should be really exciting watching this new car progress, seeing who gets a handle of it first. If the Fords stay dominant like they were in Speed Weeks, if Chevy could make a comeback like I think they might this weekend, we'll see what happens. But do you guys have anything else to add to the race? I know we covered a whole bunch of stuff.
I'm just happy to see that you guys came back alive.
We survived.
Yeah,
barely.
Yeah, this was what your fourth tour of duty.
This was my third.
Third tour.
Started 4 years ago. Took a year off last year. This is what Eric's eighth. He's coming on as a veteran 10 years soon. So we survived.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I could do it again next year. I'm gonna. It's Wednesday night. I haven't gone to work yet. That was planned. I go back tomorrow. We'll see how I do.
A nice little short week and then another weekend.
But even doing this podcast, I'm struggling internally. I hope it doesn't come off to the listener, but my head hurts even this many days later. So I slept 11 hours last night. Not good. Anyways, every podcast talks about the winner. Here on the Bumper Run Podcast, it's been a while, but we like to talk about the last place driver of the race. And who came in last place at the Daytona 500? It was one Ross Chastain, scored in last place after wreck on lap 63. Brad Keselowski turned Harrison Burton, and Ross Chastain got caught up in the mix. He was running 10th at the time, ended his day, but he was running well for the first stage. New to Trackhouse in that number one car. Kind of weird seeing Ross Chastain in the number one and not a Monster Energy car with Kurt Busch in it. Still getting used to Kurt Busch being in a Toyota over in the 43. But we'll see what happens with Ross and
45.
Or 45, sorry. See, getting confused already. It's hard to keep track of all these moves. Eric Jones in the 43, he had a hell of a race till he got taken out too by a wreck caused by Brad Keselowski. See, why are you even defending Brad Keselowski? He took your guy out because he was being too aggressive.
Trying to win, man.
Yes.
The Daytona 500. I'm sure if you're in front of me, I'm going to say either Whitey, get out of the way, or I'm moving you out of the way, bud. And you do the same for me for the 500.
That's true.
The sport's most popular driver of all time, Dale Earnhardt, he made a living doing that. So he's my hero, so I can't complain when someone does it.
No, I get it. I just, I feel like it could have been better timed. I don't know. Anyways, pick a lane. Choose cone is out. We don't have a choose cone at super speedways, but coming up this weekend at Fontana, we will have a choose cone. I give you guys a topic. You choose the side you want to take. And I only have two this week. Single lugs cause some troubles for lower funded teams this week. We saw one wheel come apart and one wheel come completely off. Now, I told you earlier, Kaz Gralla and Justin Haley, who had the tire issues, they are being penalized. Their crew chiefs are out for 4 races. Some of their pit crew is out for 4 races. The difference is Kaz Gralla had the full wheel assembly come off of the car, rim and all. Now, that was due to the pit crew. They didn't get it tight enough and it came off. Justin Haley had a little bit different situation where the tire kind of like the wheel exploded and there was still a piece of the rim on the axle. There was still the main hub in the center. I'm wondering, since one was a true parts failure and one was just an error on pit road, do you think, obviously tires coming off is very dangerous to fans in the stands, fans in the infield, people working on pit road.
They're 70 or 80 pounds. Imagine one of those getting punted by a car going 200 miles an hour.
Exactly.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
why it comes with such a stiff penalty, because it is a super dangerous thing to happen. But when one is a parts failure, not due to anyone's control, really just exploded. Maybe it wasn't properly put on. I don't know. Do you think it should follow the same weight as one that just comes straight off the axle?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
You can't have a gray area in the rule book, man. Your tire comes off, your wheel comes off, it comes off. 4-race suspension, see you later. To all parties involved. I mean, I don't even think that's strict enough, and that's pretty freaking strict.
Yeah.
Just like you just said, we can't have tires coming off and getting punted by these cars, flying into the stands, or even flying if it's something happens on the front stretch. Some of the pit roads, a lot of the pit roads at a lot of these tracks aren't protected by a wall.
No.
These wheels can fly right in and hit a lot of these guys that are just exposed, that may not be paying attention, that might be pumping air into a tire, might be stretching, getting ready for the next pit stop.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't have that happening. You just can't have that happening. God forbid the worst case scenario happens where somebody gets severely hurt or dies even. It can't happen. So yeah, the penalties need to be severe.
All right, Eric, how about you? Do you think those two different unique situations should still hold the same penalty?
Yeah, in a way I do, because like Matt said, the gray area is, always up for debate in NASCAR. And I think you take that gray area away by saying, hey, your wheel blew off. Your wheel blew off. That's just plain and simple as that. But I would like to know after this if like what happened to that Haley wheel, because how could they determine, because that's where the gray area would be, like,
yeah,
how would they determine, the officials, if it was an improper part that they got from the manufacturer, or if it was due to the way it was mounted. And I'm sure they do know that, and that's why the penalties were what it is. Like the way that rim blew apart, I'm sure those engineers already knew, okay, yes, that's one way a rim could blow apart if you don't have it secured properly.
Yeah.
It'll do this, and this. So they probably have, the engineers, at least in NASCAR, a list of things that could happen with the wheel and the way it will explode. And that's why they diagnose it, and how they could come up with whether it was a parts failure, if someone maybe manipulated the wheel. If a team manipulates a wheel, it could do this.
Yeah.
If a team puts a wheel on with only this much pressure, it will do this. So I'm sure they know that no matter what, it had to do with the team and the way they built that car and the way that those crews were putting them on. So yeah, I think no matter what, they got to stay strict with it, especially this early in the next gen car. You can't have any gray areas. It is what it is. These are the rules, and you got to abide by them.
Yeah. And here's the other thing too, and why I think yes, they and for the record, I don't know if we mentioned it or not, both parties did get that 4-race suspension. So the penalties were brought down on both of them.
Yeah.
But here's the reason why you have to lay the penalty down in both situations, is because there were 38 other cars out there that had no problem whatsoever.
Yeah.
So why did you have a problem? Now, if you have 5, 6, 7 cars that are having this problem, and it's like, holy shit, there's a real breakout of problems here, maybe we've got to look into this, then it's a different story. But it was 2 cars, 2 separate issues. The penalty has to come down. I agree with what NASCAR did.
Yeah, the way I was looking at it, and the reason why I brought it up, I felt like it was comparing like apples and oranges, even though they both contained a wheel failure, but I guess it's so dangerous. You do need those stiff penalties. And like we touched on in the news segment too, there was that thing where, like, because they were so tight, you don't know if it's vibrating. You don't know if it's about to fail. So it seems like they've already corrected that kind of issue where they're allowing teams to open up those holes a little bit so that you'll know for sure that it is tight. And we even saw some issues with Ryan Blaney on pit road too, and them getting his wheel on tight to make sure, and he made it to the end. So I guess the harsh penalties are warranted. I just I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things. It's the new car's fault, kind of too. At the same time, so it's that weird adjustment period. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see your point, Whitey. Because I took that in consideration, but you're gonna have that a lot of times during the year, and I would tend.
You don't want to use it as an excuse either.
I would blame it on the new car if maybe during any of the test sessions or any of the practice or any of the qualifying through speed weeks, no one lost a wheel. No one had a wheel blow apart. It's because it was the 500. They were cutting corners. They were trying to do what they could to put their car ahead to win. And, you saw that happen in the 500 only, none previously. So obviously those teams are trying to obviously get a fast pit stop and get their car up front and back on the racetrack as quick as possible.
Yeah.
So if there was maybe any of this coming up during the testing and practice or qualifying, I might be able to chalk it up to maybe new car, new part thing. But we didn't see many wheels come off. I don't think any at all during any testing or practice. So you just got to chalk it up to those teams. And they got a penalty for it.
All right. And the next question, I don't even know about this one. So we've been hearing about supply chain issues just in general throughout the United States. And we're moving to a new car where we get them from vendors. And going into the duels in the 500, a lot of fans were concerned about running out of parts and everything. And I heard a quote by Kevin Harvick and a couple of different other drivers where basically they said, I'm the driver. I'm going out there to win races. I don't care about supply chain issues, So if those guys aren't worried about wrecking cars, should the fans really worry about it until it's an actual issue?
No.
I don't think the fans should worry. By worry, do you mean getting all bent out of shape and think that it's gonna happen?
Yeah,
I'm optimistic about it. Where hey, I hope nothing happens. If something does happen, then we'll talk about it. But as far as the drivers, I agree with Harvick. I have it down in my notes here. I go, drivers have one job, and that's to win.
Yeah.
The owner of the team, that's his job to make sure that he has parts and everything is solid for his teams. The driver just has to step in that car and drive and go win. So. He has nothing to do with parts and if they could get them or not, or get his cars, assembled. All he has to do is sit behind that wheel on Sunday and take that car to victory lane. So I agree with Harvick in that aspect where, no, it doesn't matter. I mean, could fans be a little worried or a little optimistic about what is going to happen? For sure. I mean, the rumors are out there and, there's a couple high profile names that kind of said there might be. I think it was Harvick's crew chief Rodney Childers earlier a couple of weeks ago said that this might be a problem with the supply chain and whatnot. But that's Rodney's concern. You know what I mean? That is his concern. That's his car.
And that quote from Rodney is what made me concerned initially. But now that I'm thinking, I'm like, why should it matter to the fan?
Right. The only time we should be concerned is if it does happen.
Yeah.
But up until then, enjoy what you're seeing on the racetrack on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing too is theoretically speaking, if parts are back ordered or if they're having a hard time coming in, the closer we get to that end date where they're due in, the less we're gonna have to start worrying. If that makes sense for what I'm saying, you know what I mean? So just sit back and enjoy it. I think we're gonna be okay. NASCAR is a billion-dollar company. They're going to figure it out. They're not gonna let races get canceled or delayed because a part is missing here and there. They'll figure it out, and I think everything is gonna be okay. Yeah. And if I'm wrong, if I end up being wrong, then you know what, I end up being wrong. But I don't think so.
Hey, and if something happens, you'll hear about it in the news segment on Monday nights. We'll tell you all about it. And until then,
and I'll be the first one to admit that I'm wrong too.
Yeah, I mean, until then, I'm just gonna enjoy the racing and hope everything works out. And if it doesn't, if something happens, we'll deal with it. We dealt with a pandemic, and everything worked out.
Here's the other thing too: is we don't get paid to worry about it. A lot of people in NASCAR get paid a lot of money to worry about it. We don't, so why worry about it? Let it go. Let them figure it out. It's their job to figure it out, and they're going to figure it out.
And now it's our job to figure out who's going to win Fontana. For the first time since 2020, we're heading back to Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California. Xfinity cars on track 5 p.m. on Saturday on FS1 for the Production Alliance 300, and Cup cars on track 3:30 on Sunday on Fox for the Wise Power 400. Now, last year we had a mathematic equation to go off every week. We would give you the top 10 starting grid, but practice and qualifying is returning for this season. For Cup practice, it's going to be 2 p.m. on Saturday, followed directly by qualifying at 2:35. So very short practice time, followed by group qualifying. I'm looking forward to it. Last week, we picked, Matt, you picked Ryan Blaney to win. He got you 33 points. Eric picked Brad Keselowski. He got you 44 points. And I picked William Byron. He got taken out on lap 63 by Brad Keselowski, and he got me 1 point. And that's kind of the reason.
Oh, now we know why you, yeah.
And that's kind of the reason why I took that so sore, because William Byron, he was doing well at the time, and I thought he was going to have a really great race. He got me 1 point in our picks. But yeah, we're going to do some gambling segment now. Matt, you got the stats, the numbers we need. Explain the process this year, because it's different with the new car and everything. So let's just go over how we're going to do things.
Yeah. So if you are new to the proceedings, first of all, thank you. I hope you're enjoying us. Second of all, last year during this particular segment, I would give you, previous, top 10 who was averaging finishes in the top 10 at each track that we would go to, and give you a couple other stats
over like a four race average and all sorts of things.
Correct.
Most points accrued.
Correct. Things like that. Well, that went right out the window when we got the new cars. There's really no notebook to go off of. Got a lot of guys have switched teams. There's just we're starting with a blank slate. So what we're gonna do instead of that is we're just gonna go ahead and give you some lines, some odds as far as gambling goes, which are produced here by DraftKings. So. I'm just going to start with the top 10
and
odds.
These are the lines before practice and qualifying on Saturday, so they could change after we see the cars on track. Vegas likes to adjust numbers accordingly to practice and qualifying. So keep that in mind. It is Wednesday. These numbers could change. That
is correct. Yeah. So that's important information. We're doing this on Wednesday night, February 23rd. So these lines probably will change a little bit. But again, to avoid any kind of legality problems, the lines are provided by DraftKings. So coming in at the 10th favorite here, actually really good odds for him. Kind of a hometown guy. I mean, I know he's from California. Kevin Harvick is coming in at a plus 1,500. Okay. So really, really good odds. You throw a couple bucks down, you're going to win some good money if he wins this race. Joey Logano just underneath him, coming in at 9th favorite at plus 1,400. Alex Bowman at 8th, again, plus 1,400. Ryan Blaney and William Byron both at plus 1,200 to win this race. Martin Truex Jr. at plus 1,000 to win this race. And then your top 5 favorites are your top 4 favorites are Denny Hamlin at plus 850, Chase Elliott just below him at plus 800, along with Kyle Busch also at plus 800. And your favorite to win this race, your defending champion, he'll probably be the favorite everywhere we go until something else happens. Yeah. Kyle Larson is your favorite at plus 400 to win this race out in Auto Club in Fontana, California.
All right, and we're going to do our picks a little differently than we've done in previous years. Normally, we would just go free-for-all, pick whoever you want every week in order. This time, we're going to do a cap where we can only use them 5 times. You can only use each driver 5 times. It's kind of like fantasy if you play the weekly fantasy on NASCAR.com. Since I mean, everyone's on the board for now. I came in last week, so I get pick of the litter. Then Matt gets second pick and Eric gets last because he won. My gut and my head tells me to go with Kyle Larson, but it wouldn't be the Bump and Run podcast if I was indecisive during the betting odds. And I really like Alex Bowman at plus 1,400. I think that's a good long shot type bet that could happen. He's in that Hendrick Motorsports camp. I think they're going to have good cars this week, even though we haven't seen him on track. I think they're going to be different than what we saw in Daytona. So I'm going with Alex Bowman. Put some money down. See how you do.
Okay. So I guess I am up I'm going to go with someone who I did not mention in those favorites. Someone that I believe one of you guys are going to be happy with me mentioning.
Yeah.
Since we do have a cap on the amount of times we could pick guys, and we really don't have a lot to go off of. We have no idea who's going to be good. Is it going to are Ford's going to continue to be dominant like they were last week at Daytona? Who knows? I'm not going with the Ford though. I am going with the number 8 of Tyler Reddick.
Hometown guy, too.
Hometown guy. He's from California. That
We'll
high
see
line,
if he keeps it on the grass.
Well, the high line comes in at Fontana, and he loves running close to that wall. So I'm going with Reddick. Why not?
Yeah, especially early on in the season where it's kind of a crapshoot. We're figuring things out. You might as well use some guys you wouldn't use later on. Since we're doing that cap, I like it. I
might end up screwing myself. He might end up having a stellar year where I'm wishing I had one more Reddick start in me, So we'll see.
How about you, Eric? Where are you going?
Going out to the West Coast here. I know we talked a little bit last year about, branding drivers and, them having to do a little bit more, to get themselves a little bit more popular and out there to these new race fans. And, I think we played with Denny Hamlin last year with the old Dennis and, changing his name around. And, I think the new driver in town that I'm going to, stick with, and you kind of know from last year, I'm kind of going to stick with you this year. I'm going to go with Slick Willie B.
Slick Willie B. I think it's a good pick, and if we weren't doing the cap, I was going to go back to back with him too.
Whitey, I'm high on Bowman too, and I don't know what I'm doing there. I think it might be because of Michigan, because Auto Club and Michigan are similar tracks, and Bowman runs really well at Michigan. Obviously, none of us know. We have no idea what's going to happen. It might end up being Cody Ware who wins this race, but you never know. Well, no, I do know. Cody Ware's not winning this race.
I don't know. They have that alliance with SHR. They're getting strong Ford engines.
An alliance with SHR does not make me feel any more confident that somebody's going to win a race.
They look good on the speed weeks. They look good at the Clash. I don't know. Who knows? I'm telling you. I put them in. What did I say? Top 25 in points or top 30 in points last week? I predicted it. We'll see what happens. They probably won't win.
A Penske driver, but I just couldn't. I couldn't do it because the certain driver that will remain nameless out of my mouth at this point of the season.
I think he won here last time we were here.
Yes, tends to run well here. Like Matt said, over in Michigan, tends to run well there.
Yeah.
And it's just too early for me to even give him any kind of benefit of the doubt. So.
Yeah, it's too early in the season. It's a brand new car. We got a lot to learn over these next few weeks. We'll see the cream rise to the top. We'll see the Cody Ware back in the back, and we'll see what happens. But I think you got some driver prop bets to go through now.
Yeah, really quick. So we're going to do some head-to-head matchups as well. We're going to give you guys our quick thoughts to help you hopefully win some money, help ourselves win some money this week. So it's straight up head-to-head. Who do we think is going to finish better out of these two drivers? And the first matchup that is featured this week is Ryan Blaney versus our Daytona 500 winner, Austin Cindric. Ryan Blaney is the favorite at -220. Cindric is the underdog at +180. I guess I'll start here. I'm taking Blaney with the -220.
Yeah.
He's the veteran. Austin Cindric has a long week of media obligations leading into this. Maybe his head isn't in the right spot, or maybe it is. Who knows? I'm taking Blaney though.
I'm going with Cindric. I think momentum is everything. When you get a win in this sport, it tends to produce more wins and more confidence. And being a rookie, getting a win, all that does is give him tremendous confidence that he belongs there. He deserves to be there. And I think he's going to continue this trend. Cindric.
I'm going Blaney. I don't know when the last time Cindric was here. I don't know how he performed in the Xfinity Series at Auto Club. We're only getting 30 minutes of practice. You know what I mean? And super speedway racing is different. I think, like Matt said, it's a long week. And I think I just have to go with the more veteran driver in this situation, I'm going Ryan Blaney in the favorite, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Our next matchup is Chase Briscoe versus Bubba Wallace, which is intriguing to me.
It is.
Chase Briscoe, the favorite between these two at -160, Bubba Wallace at +130. I personally am taking Bubba Wallace with the +130 odds. I just don't like what I saw out of SHR last year. I know we really shouldn't go back and say. I know I just said a couple minutes ago that we kind of have a new slate, but I just haven't seen anything. I know Briscoe was up in front, at the end of the race at Daytona, whole different animal at Auto Club. I trust that Bubba Wallace has been here before in the Cup Series. So I don't know. I have a feeling Bubba Wallace is going to finish better than Briscoe.
I'm going Briscoe just for the pure fact that I think Bubba's going to struggle a little bit. I think there's a lot of pressure on him. Netflix thing came out. I think there's a lot of outside stuff that you said Cindric might be going through that I think Bubba's dealing with as well. He's kind of a celebrity of the sport now, and he has a lot of pressure, and he has a lot of, big shoes to fill there with Kurt coming over. And I just think Kurt is going to be the first one to win in that 23-11. And I just think Bubba's not going to run bad. I don't think, the Toyotas think they're all going to be good, but I just think something about Fords. I'm sticking with the Fords.
Okay.
Yeah, like you said, it's so hard to compare last year to the new car. We don't really know. Briscoe didn't have the greatest rookie year, but Bubba didn't have the greatest year last year either, besides some good runs at super speedways and here and there, some good runs at short tracks and stuff. But this is a very difficult one.
It's tough. It's
so
tough.
Like this might be the most difficult matchup because I feel like they're both kind of equal going into this race. They both had great Daytona 500s. They were both running in the top 10 for a lot of the race. Like I was really impressed by Chase Briscoe during speed weeks.
I'm gonna change mine. I'm gonna change mine because, and here's the thing, and I don't mean for this to come off negative towards Bubba Wallace because he is immensely talented. Yeah. But Chase Briscoe is special. I think with these new cars, I think talent might be, with these new cars being so equal, I think talent might be what takes, these teams to the next level. I'm actually going to go with Briscoe here.
And Briscoe's one of those guys that adapts to different cars really well. And I want to pick Briscoe now, but just to be opposite of you guys, I'm going to go with Bubba, see what happens next week, but it's such a hard one. And I think you're right. I think Briscoe is one of those guys that could adapt to a new car very easily.
Yeah, he's so talented. I mean, like I said, Bubba is too, but I think Briscoe is a special talent.
Yeah.
Next one we've got, and we'll make it quick, is Daniel Suarez coming in versus Eric Jones, your boy, buddy. Daniel Suarez, the favorite at -130, Eric Jones +100. This is tough for me as well. I think they probably run a similar race. I think they probably run close to each other, but I'm going to go ahead and give Suarez the edge here, just by a little bit.
How about you, Eric? You going with your boy?
I can't get the hometown boy here. I like the way he's been running. I think he's going to be aggressive. I think, the way they handle practice and going through dialing their cars is going to be a lot different. And I just think, like you said, Matt, the last, segment about Briscoe there, I just think Eric just has a little bit more talent than Daniel does. And, I just think him being at the tracks and a little bit more experience, I think their cars and talent is pretty equal. Daniel Suarez is a very, very excellent driver. And he had a really good season last year. I think he's going to run well this year to maybe possibly point his way into the playoffs. But I just think Eric Jones, the way he ran at Daytona, aggressive. He knows what he's got to do. This is his year that he has to prove that he should be in that 43 and in this sport of NASCAR. So I think he has something to prove, which gives him a little chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going with Jones because of that chip on his shoulder. We talked about Ty Dillon being real aggressive at the Clash. Jones was real aggressive at the Daytona 500. Petty GMS has something to prove. Daniel Suarez, I feel like, right now is trying to keep things super clean and just have really good overall finishes. And I think Jones is going to take a little bit more risk to try to get ahead. So I think Jones finishes ahead of Daniel Suarez this week.
That's tough. All these are tough. I mean, they're honestly, like, when it comes down to it, if you think about it, they're almost coin flips.
Yeah.
And that's no different with this final matchup between teammates, Hendrick Motorsports teammates, William Byron at -120 and Alex Bowman at -110. Very, very, very tight. This is the closest of all of them if we're going off the lines that are set for them.
Yeah.
I don't want to, contradict what I just said 5 minutes ago about a gut feeling about Alex Bowman. I am going with Alex Bowman over William Byron, but it's a coin flip in reality.
Obviously, I picked Byron to win the race, so I think he's still going to perform at the highest level. And like Matt said, Hendrick is just, I think they're going to come out and show. But Byron, I'm going to give him the edge over Bowman, who tends to come on later in the season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I picked Bowman to win, so I'm going to pick Byron to win this heads-to-head. I'm going to hedge my bets when it comes to money. I'm going to put money on Bowman to win. I'm going to put money on William Byron to win the head-to-head.
This is why you're always stressed out, Whitey. You're doing too many different things. You got 40 things going on at once, and you're going to be mad that he's doing good. You're going to be mad that he's doing bad,
But either way, I'm getting some money back in the end, and that's what I'm all about.
I want to point out something that Eric said there that really intrigued me as well. And I'm not switching my pick. I do have the feeling that Bowman's going to do better because he does run really good at Michigan.
Yeah.
Again, similar track to Auto Club. But I know we didn't run here last year at Auto Club. But do you guys remember the way William Byron started last year? The first 10 or 15 races, I don't think he had a finish outside the top 10. No. So he starts the season off hot, if that's any indication. So it is something to watch.
I don't know. All I really remember from Auto Club in 2020 was Jimmy Johnson driving super aggressive and just getting screwed going into turn one. I think he got pinched down below the line, and then I forget what happened. Something on pit road. I don't even know, but.
Boys,
it should
NASCAR,
be an interesting.
NASCAR is back.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting weekend. We got practice and qualifying. We're going to see how these new cars shake out on a 2-mile track. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Your playoff picture so far, we're one race into the season. We got a whole lot to go. We got one winner, and it is Austin Cindric, the rookie in the 2-car right now, locked in to the playoffs. And we got a whole lot of racing to go. We are balls to the wall until when's the break we have coming up?
June, I think. June? Yeah, I think so.
So we got a lot of packed weekends. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to break it all down on Monday night. Of course, Cups on track, 3:30 Sunday on Fox for the Wise Power 400. Who will it be? Will it be Matt's pick, Tyler Reddick? Will it be Eric's pick, Willie B, or will it be my guy Alex Bowman for the win? We'll find out, and we'll talk about the winner and everything that happened over the weekend Monday night on the Bump and Run podcast. For Matt, the Stat Man Reilly, for Eric, Daytona Ron, I'm Michael D. White saying have a good night.
The Bump and Run.
There it is.